Hello, this is Group 4's presentation on existential theory/therapy. This presentation is brought to you by Matthew Gutierrez, Zachary Thomas, JC Maldonado, Tristan Timms, and Ivana A. Have you ever felt like you didn't have a purpose in life? Well then, you might benefit from existential therapy. Existential therapy is a type of therapy that focuses on universal human experiences like addiction, death, and etc. There are many pros to this type of therapy, but there are also cons to this specific type of therapy. Though the cons are pretty severe for this type of therapy, the pros and all outweigh them.
This is going to be our pros of the existential therapy. Finding the meaning of life is going to be the leading factor of all of these. Because that's what this therapy is mainly for. Trying to find the meaning of life, or more importantly, your life. What do you want to do? What are your hobbies, right? Like what do you excel in? And it kind of just goes into those factors of trying to find what it means to be human, right? So these are mostly targeted towards people with anxiety, depression, bipolar depression, PTSD, in the most maybe rare and extreme cases. And once you find the meaning of life, you or I guess find the meaning of life, or once you find the sense of what that means, then they start to build up on other things like becoming more active, finding your happy place, finding some sense of control of your emotions, because the first and second one are going to be the big factors. What do you do? I like to draw. I've loved to draw, right? So we might go into that, find your happy place, draw, do you, express yourself in those areas, right? And then find some sense of controlling your emotions. That's through the therapy process, right? They may do like a series of tests, like what do you see on this picture, just things of that nature. The, if you will, the basic tests, like, oh, what do you see on this picture, or how are you feeling, or how's it going, how's everything, just basic questions and a series of tests. And then the last one, once you get all these down to a T, you have a free will. You're going to feel free. You're going to feel like you have control over your own choices, in which you can choose to continue the therapy, or you can drop the therapy and learn from your therapy, right? That could be one of the leading factors. It's just free will. It's what you do after that. That's the whole point. Finding meaning in life, all right? Controlling your emotions, finding what's happy for you, find what can benefit you in your life, and that's it. You're free, pretty much, right? And then the next one is going to be the cons of the fact of the matter here. The first two, not that big, right? It may not work for people, and it be simply as that. It's not meant for everybody. So I mean, you could be the most psychological mastermind, right? And you're questioning everything in life. You go here and you're just like, what is the point of this, right? What is the meaning of this? Why am I here? You're fed up, right? It's not gonna work for you. And it'd be like, and it may be like, oh, this is dumb, or oh, this doesn't amount to my needs. Okay, that's cool. The other factors are going to be the religious factor. As a Christian, I have done therapy, but haven't done any therapy like this. For most religious factors, it's going to be that they rely on faith, prayer, and God is going to turn it around. In which, in most cases, it works. You're not going to see a lot of a lot of religious people going into therapy and trying to figure out, oh, what's the meaning of life, because they already have a calling in their religion, so they already have a sense of what they need to do. The other factors is could be, like I said before, you're gonna have not much of a smart person, but somebody that is just really questioning everything. Like, they're done, they want to end it, right? That's going to be this factor. It's going to be debatable and have trouble comprehending what exactly they're living for and what the meaning of their life is. They don't have the sense of what they can do in life. So it stacks on top of all of this built up distress, which I will get into in a little bit, and it just like, okay, I just can't do it, right? And no, I'm not talking about suicidal. That may be the next step in this. You might have people that are just so distressed to where therapy can worsen their effects. It's a weird concept. It's a factor that you go there and you just flip the whole thing around because it just doesn't work for you, and it worsens your condition, which is, man, it's just crazy, right? Now, these are rare cases, which is why the pros outweigh these. The relapse. If we're dealing with people that have been on drugs, they have been addicted, crackheads, potheads, methamphetamine, everything, then that relapse is going to be that big factor here. That's the only one that is rare but huge. That is not that just doesn't help. The therapy just if anything angers them, because like I said, if they are fiends, there are other factors of being a fiend that can just completely debacle the whole situation that you're in, trying to help, but it makes you separate from what you're trying to accomplish. So these are your pros and cons. The cons are serious, but they are outweighed. These are rare cases. You have two very understandable ones, not so serious. You have a mid tier, which is going to be that people having trouble comprehending the situation. So they just need to be a little bit more educated. Like, they have to be a little bit more tender with how they go about explaining what the meaning of your life is. So that goes into the factor of finding what your hobbies are, so you can build on top of that. So that's what that one is. The next one is going to be that distress. That is going to be one of the ones where it's just a little bit tedious to talk about. If they are really, really distressed, that is going to turn into, okay, let's try to find some activities that you can do that calms your nerves so that you can hear and reflect. So you don't have to feel as distressed, and that you don't have to go and make very, very choicy decisions. And that last one is all depending on the person. Being on drugs is serious. So if they're at a stage to where they have always used it and they're using it to get away from their feelings, then that relapse percentage has went up from about 40 to about 65%. In other words, it's most likely that they will relapse, and that therapy has now went down the drain. So, those are just going to be some of your cons. Again, these are rare cases, and the more common cases, you're going to find people that just don't see the use of it. So, going into what this therapy is for, these are just going to be your pros and cons. Thank you.
Alrighty, so Zach talked about some pros and cons about this therapy. I'll be talking about some activities and techniques that you might see if you went through this therapy, okay? So right off the bat, most therapists will kind of just establish contact, kind of let you know what the process is, and also talk about some essential points to clarify with you going through this process. Next, I'll probably talk about exploring the four worlds, which is physical, social, personal, and spiritual. Okay, they'll ask you some questions about those four worlds, trying to get to know you a little bit better. Okay, and the next one will be mapping out the client's worldview of themselves and others, how they kind of see themselves and other people, trying to establish what their expectations are and assumptions are with people. The next one would be choosing and changing the attitude of the client. They'll be trying to encourage you to take ownership of the situations you've been in or things you might be going through right now. Okay, and next I'll be kind of talking about some activities that you might see going through this therapy. The first one will be the denial of responsibility. Some of the things they might have you do is substituting I with other pronouns, like maybe they, them. Next one would be kind of be talking about the past, things that have happened, and also talking about the future, okay? It looks like they want to avoid talking about the present. Sometimes that's the reason why a lot of these people are going through this therapy, is because they're struggling with the present, okay? Also, they want you to be a little bit more reactive than proactive. That's kind of what they're looking for going through this therapy. The next one would be, we'll talk about kind of your emotional vocabulary. As we grow up, we have all different educations and personal experience and also cultural history. So the biggest thing they want to try to figure out is your emotional vocabulary, meaning they'll kind of, it's an activity, so they'll kind of have you explain 10 of your most familiar emotions, and then you'll go either with them or maybe a family member or a friend and kind of ask them to list out their 10, and you both share those emotions with each other and kind of see, you might learn, or encounter a new emotion that you didn't think of or anything like that. They're really big on emotions. And the next activity would be considering your values. They'll kind of start asking you some questions like, how do you want your life to live? How do you want to treat others and be treated? How do you feel about human existence as a whole? Kind of just trying to see where your values are at and seeing maybe what they need to kind of work on. The next activity is going to be some role play, and it can be from different scenarios at work, home, with friends. They'll kind of do this activity with you. For example, it can be, you're kind of sitting in the therapy and you're role playing about maybe being at work. So the therapist would kind of ask you, how would you interact with staff in your team at work? And they'll kind of they want to see your point of view of how you would kind of be in that situation. But like I said, it's different scenarios. It can be scenarios at home, out with friends, kind of just seeing some role play to kind of get you out of that funk of anxiety or anything that's kind of bothering you. Next, they'll kind of try to see where your most meaningful life is through this therapy. You're trying to get out this funk. So they'll just kind of ask you some questions like, would you have a partner? What job would you have in your most meaningful life? Kind of seeing where you want to be eventually in your life. All right, so that gives you kind of a brief overview, some of the techniques, questions, and activities that you might see in this therapy.
So in the end, it all depends on the person themselves to see if essential therapy is the right type for them. Come to the realization that they need the help. This is when this form of therapy works the best and can be applied the best. After applying the work and going through your sessions, that's when you will realize that you'll be more confident in your choices and be able to make the right ones for yourself. Once you're done with your sessions, you can take control over what has always been yours to begin with. I believe the concept of existential therapy is not only fascinating and amazing, but can be beneficial and helpful to many people in their own unique ways.
These are the sources that were used to help us get this speech together. Thank you for listening.